Hello everyone. Hello. How are we all doing? So yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. Hopefully, we're going to have another great Instagram live interview. Let's see if we can do this in a second. So yeah, as we go along, please feel free to give your country a shout out. Tell us what you're driving. Post up any questions. I think this one, yeah, should raise a few questions, I expect. So yeah, do that. If you've not tuned in before, a little bit of housekeeping really, please also check out our previous interviews over on IGTV. We've also got them on Facebook and YouTube as well. We've had some really cool guests over the past year, and yeah, I think you're going to enjoy many of those as well. My name's Andy. I worked at Heritage for 13 years. My job involves meeting people, attending events, sharing stories from all around the Porsche and VW community. And hopefully in a second, I'm really excited to introduce chap who spends his day adding modern EV technology to classic cars. I think, Moggy, if you can hear this, your camera's facing the other way. You should be able to spin your camera around, perhaps. Oh, hey! So yeah, he puts electric motors in classic cars. He's now on a TV series called Vintage Voltage, and here he is, Moggy from Electric Classic Cars.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
How's it going? You well?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. Yeah, and yourself?
Yeah. Oh, not bad. Busy as ever. It's nice to be sitting down rather than out in the toy shop with all the cars out there. We've got about 15, 18 odd cars out there at the moment. So having a little bit of a rest and sitting down.
Yeah, I like it. The toy shop. That's a cool name for a workshop.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a toy shop. You'll have to see it. Go on.
Yeah, sure. Sound.
It might be a bit noisy.
Oh yeah, I've got some ear defenders down here.
There you go. So
amazing.
We got we've got a couple of Ferraris, Ferrari Testarossa, crew cab, 1969 crew cab, 308 Land Rover. What's that? It's a Gordon Keeble. That's my 1303 BMW CSI. There's a Splitty hiding behind the black thing there.
Yeah.
It's a split screen bus. Mini Mercedes SL. What's that?
For an Alpha there? No, another Merc.
Porsche 944.
Cool.
Yeah, 944. BMW
Is that a bubble car?
Yeah, BMW Assetto. What else we got? There's a DeLorean.
Wow.
Porsche 914. Fiat 500. And just over in the corner there's a Maserati and another Fiat 500. And another Land Rover in the far corner. So, I don't know, what was that one? Probably about 15 cars. There's some more in the car park as well.
So if you've got a bubble car in, is that just a couple of AA batteries? That's kind of all you've got room for, isn't it?
That's about it, really. I mean, it's pretty small. The only place to put batteries is actually underneath the seat.
Okay.
So the battery pack for that is actually this one here. So
oh wow! Okay.
This is actually the battery pack for the BMW Assetto there, and this is the seat. So on top of that, then goes another bit of metal, obviously, and then it's all sealed, so it's nice and safe, strong, and sealed. And then on top of that, then is your front. Well, I say front seat, a seat. There's only one seat in it. So
yeah. Amazing.
So that's the only space you've got for batteries in a bubble car, because there's no other place for batteries.
But I guess that means that you can only drive 50 miles or something like that.
Yeah, it's designed it's designed as a city car at the end of the day. I mean, it's what are we putting in that? So I'm expecting a range of somewhere between 50 and 70 miles. But if you think about it, if you lived in a city, you'd probably not do 50 to 70 miles in a week, let alone days.
True.
And you wouldn't necessarily want to be driving a bubble car, petrol or electric, on the motorway, because it's just probably not the safest thing to drive on a motorway.
No, it makes sense. So, yeah, massive thank you for coming on. I got in touch with you after I saw a video that you did with Petrol Ped on your 1303. It was like 600 horsepower. And kind of until then, I didn't realise you were sort of a VW guy at heart. So, obviously, got to speak to this chap. So, Volkswagen-wise, what have you had and what have you got now, I guess?
To say I'm a Volkswagen guy is probably an understatement. So when I was 16, let's say when I just passed my test, a week after I passed my test, I rolled my mum's Golf. So that was probably my first Volkswagen was my mum's Golf. It lasted a week, and then I got a welder and a written off Beetle for Christmas stroke birthday, and their thinking was, if you get that running, you'll probably treat it with more respect than my Golf, as in like my parents. So let me just pass this to John. John. Yeah. So yeah, I had my first Beetle at the age of 17, about 2 weeks after my test, and I've still got that car. So that's the first ever car I had at 17 was a 1968 Beetle, which I still have at home. And since then, I've also had the 1961 Beetle, 1966 Beetle, the 1303. My 1969 crew cab. I've had a Porsche 914. So there is a picture of my Porsche 914 rally car.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'll come to that a bit later.
I rallied that for about seven years in the British Historic Championship. And my Beetle, there we go. That's what's at home. That's my Beetle. So,
oh, cool. Oh, pillarless as well. Roof chopped and...
Yep. Roof chopped and pillarless. So I did that same year as Jay Townsend at Billabug Jay Townsend at Thump Thump, as it was back then, did Billabug. Okay. I lived about half an hour away from him, if that, and I did mine the same year as him, but he was doing it as a business, so he finished his first, and I was in college, so I only did it in the evenings and weekends. Yeah. And I got Shane and Simon down at Paintbox to do some work and finish off the roof chop and do the paintwork on it. So yeah, I've probably spent I've spent a small fortune with VW Heritage over the years.
You kept me in a job, thank you very much.
Oh yes. Yeah, I've done all the shows, usual bug jams way back in the 90s, all the way through to VW Action, Big Bang, and everything. In fact, I went to bug jam for the first time in probably 10 years. Not last year, the year before. So it was nice to go back to Santa Pod. And in fact, I was at Santa Pod yesterday, of all places.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just seeing how fast the 1303 went.
Can you tell us, or have we got to tune in?
Well, you've got to tune in because it's a program I've just finished with Guy Martin.
Okay.
So we did a load of stuff with Guy Martin recently for his Speed series that he does.
Yeah.
And he's done an episode on my Beetle and basically seeing how fast we can get it to go. So I can't tell you how fast it was, but it was very fast.
Fantastic. And of the air-cooled VWs you've got, are they all EV, or have you still got kind of engines in any of them? Or
the only one I've still got an engine in is that blue one I showed you before, the roof chop one. Yeah. And that's only because I haven't got round to it yet. So all my other vehicles, we've been pure EV now for 2 years as a family, but all my vehicles, apart from the blue one, have been EV now for 5 years.
Okay.
So my 69 crew cab, my 1303, and more recently my Land Rover Defender, all EV. And my wife's got a Tesla Model 3. Yeah. My dad's got an electric motorbike. So we're an EV family, if you like. I've even got an electric sit-on lawnmower.
A couple of questions have thrown up. So the Guy Martin thing, do you know what channel it's on? If it's
Channel 4.
Cool. We've got someone in from Los Angeles, someone from Buenos Aires.
I think that it's going to be around about September that comes out.
Amazing.
And we took a 1303 to a wind tunnel to try and improve the aerodynamics. See how much lift you get on a Beetle at 130 miles an hour, which is interesting. And then tried to counteract that with some aerodynamic changes. We took it to a dyno day to try to tune it to get more power out the motor. It's going to be a really, really interesting TV show to watch that. And then the final is obviously then eventually getting to Santa Pod and flooring it and see what happens. So
I like his stuff. It's good. Cool. So, I guess with business, I get the feeling you were kind of fairly quick off the mark with regards to kind of conversions in comparison to kind of mainstream manufacturers doing EV stuff. When did you start doing what you're doing? And
so I started 5 years ago. So I was doing the rallying for 7 years in the British Championship. And then I kind of knocked that on the head because I had a young family, and rallying's not the safest sport to be doing, and it's also very expensive. So then I knocked that on the head, and whenever you stop doing motorsport, where you're getting your car ready for races all the time, and all your spare time spent doing that, you end up getting cold turkey in the workshop, and then thinking, well, what else am I going to do in the workshop? What am I going to do? And I looked at a Beetle that I had in there, and I thought, right, well, I already had a supercharged motor in my Blue Beetle. I'm wondering if I can build a supercharged and turbo engine like the Delta S4 rally car and put that in a Beetle. So I started researching that to see if that's possible, and it got complicated quite quickly, but I was up to the challenge. And then I just stumbled on YouTube, some guy in the States that had converted a Beetle to electric over there with a DC motor out of a forklift truck. And I thought, well, that seems fairly simple. And it just kind of got my curiosity, and I just went down the rabbit hole. And that was 5 years ago. And then now we are literally the largest converter of classic cars in the world. It's crazy.
Amazing. We've got a couple of techie ones, which I think, what's best for miles per kilowatt, fixed gear or multi-gears? It doesn't mean much to me, but...
So what that means is, so to explain, most EVs have a single gear.
Okay.
So essentially, for instance, in a Tesla, your Tesla motor can rev up to 18,000 RPM.
Wow.
And then you have a 9.73 to 1 gear reduction down to essentially your drive shafts.
Yeah.
And if you want to reverse, you just flick a button and the motor spins in reverse.
The other way, yeah.
So that's a single gear system. And then you can also have things like the latest Porsche Taycan, which has 2 gears in.
Okay.
So that's because what happens is you've got maximum torque from 0 RPM. And then at some point, that torque's going to start to slope down as the RPMs gets higher and higher. Whereas with 2 gears, essentially you can go like that. And then as it starts to slow down, you basically go to the other gear. Efficiency-wise, completely depends upon the motor. Obviously, motors have an efficiency, area, if you like, underneath the curve. So it will completely depend on the motor. But I would say for a pure efficiency, probably 2 gears. But for complexity and ease of manufacture, you can still easily get away with single gear.
Fair enough. What was so it was the Beetle, was it? The Beetle was your first EV swap?
Yeah, it was a 1960, early 1960s Beetle that we did first. And when I finished it, it was a beautiful Beetle. I bought it years ago, pre-restored, and it was just lovely. But it was always unreliable. And I used to build my own race engines for the Porsche 914, and I know my way around a Beetle engine, let's face it.
Yeah.
And there was always something, needing fettling on it, and that keeps VW Heritage in business at the end of the day. So, not wrong with that. But I'm a classic car owner that's a daily driver. So I'm not one that has them as a hobby or go out on the weekends. I drive my classic cars, and always have done, as daily drivers. So I will literally get in my car and go to south of France in a 1968 Beetle and back camping. So I only own classic cars, apart from my wife, who has the modern Tesla now, but even she's had Beetles in the past. So when you've got a classic car that you're using as a daily driver to go back and forth to work and on holiday and stuff, reliability and maintenance and general maintenance, having to do it yourself, becomes a pain. Yeah. So I converted it, and within 5 minutes of me driving it, petrol was dead to me, because I literally got it going, went down the drive, turned left onto the main road, put my foot down. It was like, whoa, what's that? What's that
Yeah,
instrument talk? And that's addictive. And then there's no oil changes, there's no belt changes, no filters to change, there's no tune-ups. Every time you get in it, it starts. And I thought, right, well, it's still a classic car. Everything about it's still a classic car, But now I've got a really reliable, quite powerful motor in it. So yeah, from that very first vehicle that I converted, I knew the future was that direction for me.
Yeah, yeah. And with the Beetle, for example, how much easier is the second conversion? Like after, I guess you've obviously the first time round, you're sort of proof of concept and testing everything. So what have you got a Beetle conversion down to? Like, I guess it was weeks or months to start with.
That's a good question. So that first conversion, it was around about 6 months it took me to convert. And bear in mind, I'm working in the evenings and weekends as a hobby. So about 6 months it took me to convert that to a high standard. It wasn't like a Heath Robinson sort of like wires everywhere. Because I'm quite particular and OCD about all that stuff. So 6 months it took me to do that one, and we converted a Beetle last year in a day.
Wow.
So
okay.
That's where we're at now. I mean, okay, we have a kind of a Beetle kit that we already have templated up.
Yeah.
And we drove the Beetle in under petrol power into the workshop, and then obviously I had about 4 guys working on it with me, so it wasn't just myself. But yeah, by the end of the day, I think it was about 10 o'clock at night, we drove out under the power of electrons. So yeah, it's down to a day now.
And that kit, is that something that kind of a DIY could fit, or is it a bit sort of risky because of the voltage or the amps or whatever?
Yeah, we as a business need to be very careful saying that the average Joe public can convert a car, because there's a lot of risk involved. How do we know whether or not they're not qualified, but capable of converting a car to electric? Because you can't get around the fact that if you don't know what you're doing, the voltages we're talking about and the current, it can kill you.
Yeah.
So we sell kits to businesses. So if there's a business out there, like Land Rovers are probably one of the most popular kits we do. We sell conversion kits to a business, and it's up to them to make sure their staff are suitably trained in EV as an EV technician. And it's the risk is on them to get those people trained up suitably. Yeah. But if we start selling to Joe public, and with the best intentions of the world, you can make it idiot-proof and lots of manuals. But if they get something really stupidly wrong, that ain't going to end well. So we've tended to veer away from doing kits as much as possible to Joe public at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. I think you don't want to be responsible for a nasty accident, do you? So.
No, and you can be the most qualified person in the world. You might know everything there is about electric sort of things, but you might not be a great, mechanic sort of, if you know what I mean. I know some very clever people, academically, let's say, that know everything there is about 3-phase motor, electronics, and controllers, but I wouldn't let them anywhere near my car to do any maintenance on it. So, and when you're converting your own car, you've got to be a jack of all trades, an expert of everything as well. So you've got to kind of know your way around electrics, be a good mechanic, and then put that all together in a safe and methodical way that essentially the end result is a very, safe and quality-orientated conversion. And, I've seen a lot of horrible put-together petrol cars, let alone EV conversions.
Yeah.
And, with petrol, you can get away with it, sort of. Okay, you'll probably have an engine fire in your bus at some point if your fuel lines aren't working right. But if you get EV conversions wrong, that ain't going to end well for anybody.
What's the potential, I guess, is that you end up earthing out, like you touch the vehicle and it's all electric, it's all live or something like that. Is that the...
Well, so the main difference between an EV and a petrol car, let's say, from an electrical point of view, is on a petrol car, the 12-volt battery, the earth is the chassis. So your negative goes to the chassis and your positive goes elsewhere, and all your points are on the chassis. With an EV, you don't do that. for obvious reasons. So if you've got 400 volts of like battery pack, the last thing you want to do is
the chassis.
use the chassis as the earth. So it's an isolated system.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for instance, you can't hold on to the chassis somewhere and then touch a live cable unless there's a big ground fault problem and get a shock. You've literally got to touch the positive somewhere and the negative somewhere. And then even then, the electric has got to choose you as the least route of resistance, because current is very lazy. If it can go through metal, it'll go through metal. It won't go through you. So you've even then got to be the path of least resistance. So I mean, as I say, it's a lot less chance of you getting any shock, let's say, in an EV. But you know, the risk is still there if somebody tried to convert their own car and didn't know what they were doing.
So, from the video I watched with you with the Beetle, I gather from that you went to uni with Petrol Ped. What was it you studied there, and how close to what you studied is kind of your current job? Did you do mechanics or automotive stuff, or?
So I didn't do well academically, put it this way. So when I applied to college, I didn't quite get the A levels grades that I wanted. That's an understatement. I didn't do very well, and I wanted to become an automotive design engineer. So that was what I applied for. But when my A-level grades came out, and it was a bit of a whoops, I then ended up doing a course that I got accepted for, which wasn't in automotive. So I did a course called Manufacturing Systems Engineering. Now, that actually ended up being very interesting, because manufacturing systems engineering, it's kind of a spread of everything engineering-wise. So it's a little bit of electronics, a little bit of electrical, a little bit of a mechanical, production planning, financial management, anything to do with running a manufacturing business, we covered.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was a jack of all trades type engineering degree. So I learned about electronics, learned about electrics, and you know, I did CAD work and stuff like that as well. And then I left, and then my suit and tie proper job then became the energy efficiency industry. So helping organisations like Tesco's and Walmart and BT reduce their carbon footprints by becoming more energy efficient. So that was my day job, but my evenings and weekends was always messing around the VWs and, you know, old Porsches and stuff like that. And it wasn't until, as I say, 5 years ago that I actually ended up just landing back into being an automotive engineer, which is where I am now, which is great. So they say if you turn your hobby into your business, you'll never work a day in your life, and it's true. I'll come to the workshop sometimes and think, if I wasn't working here, I'd come here anyway.
So your uni degree actually isn't too far removed. Like, there's kind of the groundwork there. It's not like you studied, theatre or whatever. Like, you've kind of, or computers or whatever. You're kind of on track.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. It gave me a good grounding, let's say, for what I do now. And I met Pedro. He was on the same course as me, and as fate would have it, he just came in for the not the interview, what do you call it? So he came up with a film crew as one of the potentials to be my co-host, if you like, because we needed a Mike Brewer type for the TV side of things, and he came up because he was a YouTuber, and I thought, I know you, I remember you from college. And we just clicked again, so it worked quite well, me and Pedro. So he's now part of the TV show.
Fantastic. So. Have you had any inquiries about converting a car which you'd rather not, maybe because it's particularly rare or kind of super expensive, or are you kind of happy to go with anything? Is there one you turned down?
Oh yeah, there's lots we turned down, but the reason why we turned them down is so, as the name would imply, we're electric classic cars. So we deal with anything up to mid 80s, let's say. Although we've done the odd 90s car, and also Land Rover Defenders are built up until 2015 or whenever it is. But in the main, we are 80s, pre-80s classics. And there's no other reason other than we love classic cars. It's not because modern cars are complicated, which they are anyway. But that's by the by. We just love classic cars. So do we turn cars down? All the time. We get emails every single day. I got a 2008 Skoda Octavia. Can you convert it to electric? Yes, we can, but will we? No.
Yeah.
You have to kind of let them down politely and gently, without spoiling their feelings about their lovely car. But it's just purely because we love classic cars and we want to keep them on the road for the next century. And we're classic car guys at the end of the day.
So actually, obviously, you've got Ferraris out there and Maseratis, and so it's not really an issue if someone turns up with a few £1,000 worth of car or whatever. That it's not like you're saying actually we'll leave that one alone, thank you.
I mean, the rarest car we've got in there at the moment is a Gordon Keeble.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the numbers, but it's something like only 60 of them were ever made. And it's up to the customer. If that's their pride and joy and they love it and they want to convert it to electric because they want to enjoy it on the road again and have that reliability, then why not? I mean, I usually try to suss people out that are into rare cars like that and just, are you really sure? Yeah. Why do you want to do that sort of conversation? And if they're going into it with eyes wide open, no problem. I'll help them achieve their dreams, if you like, us to converting their classic to electric. But in the main, most of the cars we convert are very, I say very common. Classic cars aren't very common, but they're mass-produced classic cars, let's say. And
is it if someone kind of has a change of heart in 20 years' time for whatever reason, it's fairly easy? If they kept everything, could you kind of put it back reasonably, or not reasonably easily, but?
Yeah, I mean, most of the conversions we do are completely reversible. I mean, a Beetle, for instance, the motor attaches to the same bell housing, so everything is bolt in. So most of the conversions we do are reversible. But has anybody done that and reversed it? No. Would anybody do that? No. It's like saying to a train driver, right? Can we reverse this back to steam power? It's just it's not really going to happen. I mean, and I one of the reasons why I want to do what I do is because I don't want classic cars to become steam engines. Like you only see steam engines now at steam fairs in Shropshire in a field somewhere, and they're great, they're lovely, make a nice noise, but they're not used and enjoyed and driven anymore. They're just kind of a museum piece that people go and ogle at in wonder and talk about the old days. And me as a classic car daily driver guy, I never want to see classic cars turned into that. I want to see them used and enjoyed forever and ever. So that's one of the reasons why I started doing what I do and I keep on doing what I do.
That's fair enough. So with the price, I'm pretty sure kind of EV cars, generally speaking, are coming down, and they're supported by kind of incentives and stuff like that. Can you see the costs of conversion parts kind of being reduced as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, since we started, we've seen more parts become available. So the supply chain has widened. Cost of parts have come down. Cost of batteries have come down, and that's only going to continue as more and more manufacturers turn to EVs. Manufacturing batteries and motors turns from thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. That has an economies of scale as to the supply chain. So we'll definitely see the cost of conversions coming down, and also because of the volume of cars that we're doing, we've started doing them in batches. So if you're doing a single car, that costs X, if you like. Now, if you're doing 5 Defenders at the same time, the cost of converting 5 Defenders at the same time for each customer is going to be less than just doing one on its own. So that's what we're starting to do, batches of cars now in 3s or 4s.
That makes sense. Is there any benefit, either personal or business, kind of incentive wise, for converting your classic? Like, obviously you get kickbacks or whatever for buying a Tesla or whatever. Is there any way of doing you come across that people can kind of? No.
Currently, any incentive that the government gives you, like grants and things like that, is all related to new cars. There's no grants out there to help with converting your own car or getting a car converted. Not at all. The benefits are mainly, around, your personal benefits, if you like. So, you get more enjoyment out of it because you're driving it more regularly. You're less stressed, and like your blood pressure isn't as high because you're not hearing that strange new engine noise that wasn't there yesterday, sort of thing. And am I going to make it to where I'm going now, etc. So there's certain personal enjoyments like that, and obviously, I calculated on my bus. My bus is now 17 times cheaper to run than when it was petrol.
Wow.
But all that has to be balanced out, that it cost a small fortune to convert it in the first place. So, it's not cheap to convert a car, but once you converted it, it's so cheap to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you worked out how many miles you've got to drive it to so it breaks even?
It would be a lot. I mean, if you think about it, I've got, if I do the maths here now, and there are electric tariffs, if you like, for EV owners.
Okay.
So, for instance, when you charge your car up, it's usually at night or overnight, and that's when the national grid has a bountiful supply of electricity, so it's cheap.
Yeah.
So there's things like the Octopus Go tariff, which is a renewable supplier that has an EV tariff, which is 5 pence per kilowatt hour at night.
Okay.
So that's when I charge up my cars. And if I just quickly do the maths here now, so 85 times 0.5, so that's 4.25. So to fill up the tank, if you like, in my bus, it's £4.25.
Wow.
And then if you divide that by, say, 200, I'd say 200 miles on average, depends how I drive it. So that's, well, it's £2.10 to do 100 miles. So it's pretty cheap compared to petrol.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a question just flown up there. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to learn how to convert a car? Is there particular courses which are out there? Or have they got to be in the trade already, do you know?
Well, if you are looking to convert your own car, there's quite a bit of information on YouTube. There's quite a few people that have done it out there on YouTube, and that's kind of where I started, if you like.
Okay.
And then if you want to get trained up properly, as in to become an EV technician, I'd recommend things like the IMI Level 2, Level 3 courses that you can do, which will then cover things like how to safely switch off an electric vehicle and then how to work on a live electric vehicle, etc. So, yeah, do some research online. YouTube's a good place. And then if you want to take that further, maybe get some proper academic qualifications, look at IMI for EV technician training courses.
Cool. If you could have kept any of the cars you've built in the past, is there a particular one you're like, I wish I could have had that for whatever reason? Maybe one you've done for a customer or something?
I don't get rid of many of my cars. I mean, I'm definitely of the opinion that he who dies with the most toys wins. So
I like that.
I've kept most of my cars. There's a few Beetles we've let go, but that's just because we simply didn't have any room for them. So I always loved the Porsche 914, and I had a lot of fun in that, rallying it, and I tried to keep it for a while. But when you build a vehicle around the race regulations, to turn it back into a road car is very difficult.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish I would have kept it, but I don't think it would have been practical to keep on to it. So if there's any car I would have kept with probably the 914, but it would have been so impractical because there was no soundproofing in it as a roll car. It's a rally car at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
But as a handling car, that was probably, for its age, a better handling car than the 911 of its similar era.
Was that electric or was that petrol engine?
Oh, that was petrol. Yeah, petrol. That was
you
before
EV one?
Yeah, we're EV one now. In fact, we've already EV one. EV'd one. So we did one last year, 2 years ago, I think it was. So we've got the second Porsche 914 in the workshop there now. That we're doing another one now.
Awesome.
And that's a really nice one. In fact, let's go and show you that one because that's a stamp.
I do like a 914. Sorry.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Porsche 914s. So here you go. So it's
lovely.
Beautiful, real nice restoration. So there's nothing in there at the moment. That's been stripped out, and you'll notice right-hand drive.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's been.
I was looking at that going, that's the left, but you've got it the camera flipped, haven't you? So yeah.
Oh, right, all right. No, it's right-hand drive, that one. So yeah, that's already been converted. Not we didn't convert it to right-hand drive, but somebody has in the past. Don't know if it's a proper Crayford conversion, but yeah, very nice Porsche 914 that.
So with obviously that's mid-engine. Is it make it easier or harder if it's rear-engined or front or mid-engine to do these swaps, or is it kind of part of the course?
No, not really. I mean, we've done probably just as many rear-engined cars as front-engine cars, and front-engine car rear-wheel drive, front-engine car front-wheel drive,
Yeah.
four-wheel drive vehicles we've done, rear-engine rear-wheel drive, air-cooled, water-cooled. We've done them all. I mean, we've probably converted, I don't know, probably about 100 odd cars now. So
Wow.
you can imagine there's every car you can imagine and every configuration that we've converted in there really.
Someone asked earlier about Golf GTIs. Have you done the early Golfs?
No, not yet. I'm not sure if we've got a Golf GTI in the queue, but we probably only do a Mark 1. Mark 2 is getting a little bit too late for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, not done a Golf yet. I've got a good solution for a Golf. I'd probably drop a Tesla front drive unit in a Golf. We've got a Mini out there at the moment, and that's probably going to have the same. It's 300 horsepower in the front Tesla drive unit. So in the Mini, it's going to be crazy, and in Golf, it would be crazy. So, but it fits into a Golf Mark 1 quite well. There's a front Tesla drive unit. I've measured one up. So
obviously kind of some of the questions about EV, I guess, are always around batteries. Are they fit and forget, or are they kind of a bit like a roof on your house, for example? You kind of think, okay, 40, 50 years time or whatever, I've got to think about new ones. Is there? I know it's a bit early to tell, probably, but
they're kind of fit and forget. I mean, I'm talking about classic cars really here because what happens. So let's just concentrate on, say, Tesla batteries, because there's many different flavors, obviously. But if we just take Tesla batteries themselves, what happens with a battery is you have degradation over time and use. So you start with 100% capacity, and as you get to like 100,000 miles, you might have lost the top, say, 5%, 10% of the top of the range.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not able to charge all the way up to 100% anymore. It can only charge up to, say, 95%.
Okay.
And as it gets older and more charges and what have you happens, then that comes down. So even after 250,000 miles, you'll still probably have a battery that does 80% of what it did when it was new.
Yeah.
So it's not as if you have to throw that battery away. If you're still comfortable that instead of doing 200-mile range now you do 160-mile range, then fine. So it's not as if.
Sorry, that will go down on the number of charges, so not necessarily with age. Is that right, or that would be a bit of both?
Well, the electrons, electricity flows both ways, if you like. So I mean, if you the amount of miles you do, the current's flowing this way, and then you have to charge it back up. It goes that way. So miles and number of charges is kind of the same thing, because if you drive the miles, then you've got to charge it back up. Yeah,
sorry, I meant age. So for example, if you had a classic car, for example, and you only did a few hundred miles a month, then you could potentially do 100,000 miles over 25 years rather than. But they don't.
They don't really degrade much or of any note, let's say, with age. So
that's good to know. What have I got here? So your TV show, I guess. How did that come about?
How did that come about? I don't know. How did that happen? So when I was converting the cars, we got a lot of interest on YouTube and social media. Yeah. Before I started doing this, I didn't even use Facebook or any of that stuff. Yeah. In fact, I used to look at my wife on the sofa thinking, what are you doing staring at your screen all evening? What is that all about? And now I'm terrible. So we got a lot of interest from like Instagram and YouTube and all this sort. And I thought, you know what? I loved watching Gas Monkey Garage and Ed China on Wheeler Dealers, and seeing what I do in there. I'm a car guy, ex-petrol head, and now like electro head or whatever you want to call me. And I thought, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I would want to watch a TV show doing that. And I thought, well, there's nobody else doing it. I mean, when I started doing this, I mean, there was literally 3 companies in the world doing what I do, and 2 of them were in America. So I thought, well, I think this would make a really good, interesting TV show because I would watch it. So I got in contact with a few people, and I bumped into Ed China somewhere along the way. I can't remember, but I kind of know Ed. I explained it to Ed, and he thought, yeah, that would be a good thing. And it kind of just got momentum going, and then a couple of TV companies just started saying, well, we'd like to do that, or we'd like to do it as well. So we got a bit of a, is it going to be them that Discovery Channel, or is it Channel 4, whatever? And we ended up, the one main thing I wanted to do was make sure it wasn't, didn't turn into a scripted program, a pretend program. Because a lot of these programs, they're not real. I mean, I'm sorry to disappoint anybody that's watching, but Gas Monkey, it's not real. It's scripted, and the cars that they convert it's not a real workshop. It's a TV studio, and most of the TV shows, car-wise, that you see on TV, are like that. And it's the whole false drama. Oh, we got to get this car finished by tomorrow. The customer's coming in. False drama. I hated that, and a lot of TV shows have just turned into that. So I wanted it to be what's called an obdoc, an observational documentary. So the film crew come in, and they just film my business, film what we do. They're real customers. They're real customers' cars, it was Discovery Channel that literally said, yeah, okay, we'll accept that. And then we got Attaboy Productions. They did Wheeler Dealers for 11 years, or probably more, before it got sold to America. So we got Attaboy on board, Discovery Channel, and said, right, as long as you're not going to get in the way of the business and you're just here to film actual real work and real business and real engineers working on real cars, I'm good to go. And that was 2 years ago now. So we're filming season 2 at the moment.
Okay.
And we've got another 10 cars in season 2. We've got some really interesting ones, like that bubble car. That's one of them.
Yeah, amazing.
There's a Porsche 911 that we've just done now, so that's all done and completed. There's a Beetle. That split screen bus camper that's out there. That's another one. So there's loads of really interesting cars. DeLorean's another one. So another 10 cars in season 2.
Wow. Oh, amazing. That's really, really, really cool. And how many people have you got working there?
I would say around about 12.
Okay.
Without counting all the heads, I think it's around about 12, I'd say now. So most of the guys in the workshop, there's some office-based people, and probably about 12.
And have you had to move to kind of a bigger premises to accommodate the TV show and stuff, or were you kind of already there anyway?
We were already here. We're going to need a bigger boat at some point, that's for sure. Because we've got, I don't know, I'm looking at the waiting list there. There's probably about 50 or 60 cars in the waiting list over there.
Wow.
That's a waiting list of probably about 2 years. So we need to expand our capacity to be able to get that waiting list down, to be able to do more cars at the same time. We'll probably expand again, if not later this year, then definitely early part of next year, to probably double the size we are now.
Oh, amazing. You kind of said, obviously, that many cars. Are you building cars for customers overseas, or are they just UK customers? Or
so we've got there's a little Fiat 500 in there around the corner that is about to go off to LA. So the Dev Patel, the actor that was in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes,
and Lion and stuff. So that's his car.
Oh, amazing.
So that's all finished. So that's motor, battery
Yeah.
pack, everything in there. And then the interior, all kind of like finished in leather,
Lovely.
all
And
done. So that's about to get shipped off to LA. So that's going overseas. Yeah, and there's a couple of vehicles we've done that go overseas. We do a lot of kits as well for companies overseas in Australia and South Africa and America. We ship conversion kits to those conversion shops.
Okay.
So they're like us, but they're using our kits to convert clients' cars.
Yeah.
If you like.
And are you getting vehicles in which are already kind of restored, if you like, and then you're doing the EV, or are you doing kind of bodywork, painting, trimming and stuff there?
Yeah, so we haven't got time to do restorations anymore. There's 101 companies out there that can restore a classic car. We tell people get your car restored there, and then bring it to us because you can spend 9 months restoring a split screen bus, for instance, and then 2 or 3 months converting it to electric. Well, those 9 months we can spend converting other cars because there's not many people like us that convert classic cars to electric, but there's lots of people that do restorations and to very high standards. So we normally recommend that people go to those places, and we've got good relationships with some of them now. Like the SL shop, for instance, is a good example. We've converted a Mercedes SL for them, and we've also had Mercedes SLs in that needed restoration, so we throw that their way, and then they do restoration. And then it comes back to us for electrification. So we just don't have the time to do restorations anymore.
That's fair enough. So I've got a couple of hypothetical questions to finish if you're up for them. So hypothetically, you get an invite for drinks with either Ferdinand Porsche, Gordon Murray or Elon Musk. Who would you fancy spending an evening chatting with?
God, that's a good question, isn't it? So Ferdinand Porsche. Ferdinand Porsche would be interesting, but he probably wants to speak English, so I'll probably knock him in there.
We can have a translator on hand, or we can hypothetically say he can speak English.
I think Elon Musk would probably bore me because he's one of those real high stress techie guys. You know what? If I'm having a drink with you, there's certain people you go to listen to in a lecture environment, but to go for a drink with, I'm not sure he would be a good drinking buddy. So I'm going to go with Murray because he would have some good stories.
Yeah. And then the last one really is, if you could drive any car on any road with anyone, where, who, and what would it be?
If I could drive a car on any road with anyone, where would it be? I don't know. I would. That's for me. I'd probably say with my family in my '69 crew cab, going camping around Europe somewhere. I would be, I'd be in Nirvana then. Smile on my face. Driving in an old 1969 crew cab with all the camping equipment in the back, down to Fréjus in the south of France, just for a couple of weeks holiday. So. In fact, I'm doing something very similar in a couple of weeks. I'm going down to Pembrokeshire, camping in the crew cab down there. So that's my happy place, I think, with the family, in one of my cars, doing what they're built for, which is reliably travelling, and enjoying a classic car.
Fantastic. Well, massive thank you for finding some time to chat with us, and obviously entertaining questions and everything flying up as well. It's been really exciting to find out kind of more about what you do and what kind of led you to it. A bit more housekeeping really for people who want to find out a bit more about you. At Electric Cars on Instagram, Electric Classic Cars.
Electric Classic Cars on Instagram, and we're also on Twitter and Facebook, YouTube, which we're going to start putting more YouTube videos out. So any of the social media platforms, just search for Electric Classic Cars, and you'll soon find us. And the TV show, you probably know the facts better than me. Where can people find it? And so the TV show is called Vintage Voltage, and it's available. So it's part of the Discovery Network. and it depends which country you're in, but Motor Trend in the States, Quest in the UK, and in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany. I don't know what channels they're on there, but if you search for Vintage Voltage wherever you live, hopefully you'll find it.
Wonderful. So if there's anyone out there who's thinking I'm up for a chat about what they do, then drop us a DM. We can have a talk about getting you on. Massive thank you to everyone for watching. We've had loads of people watching today, so that's been really cool. We're going to be saving this to IGTV. We'll also get it onto Facebook and YouTube ASAP, so people can catch up on bits they've missed, share it with friends, etc. So please give it a like, drop a comment, tag a mate who might be interested. We'll see you all again soon. Take care, stay safe. Thank you very much, Moggy. Have a good afternoon.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.